some students these days, if they can like draw a very complex form, they just do it in SketchUp and they just chase it.
That's another way to
Oh
charm
my God,
now.
you're not supposed to reveal
Oh,
it.
I'm so sorry. Hello! How is
Hey.
everyone in the building today?
Doing good.
So, I'm Jean, and with me today is Lomi.
Hi.
And we are very excited today since we have a very special guest for our very first episode of the Babble Station. Woohoo! So joining us today is B+A's very own Vice President for Admin, Finance, Culture, Growth, and Civic Affairs, Architect Nikki Buensalido.
Hello! Hi, everyone! I'm so happy to be here, the first episode in our pilot.
Yes.
This is not the pilot. This is the first
This is
episode.
our
Yeah.
first episode.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me. To everybody, I hope you enjoy this episode and see where it goes.
It's actually really nice to talk with you in this type of setting because as Jean mentioned before, you're our VP for Culture and Admin. So you're usually the first face we see when we get interviewed to join the office. So you're usually the one asking questions about us or getting to know us. So now I think the tables have kind of made a turn and we get to know more about you naman.
Yes, I'm happy to be interviewed for a change. I'm happy to be here in the office because some people also don't know that I'm in the office very rarely because I work from the house. But I'm maybe what you can call command center, control center. I also take care of my 2 kids. Today, I'm very happy to wear my architect hat. It's such a wonderful experience walking into this office that's set up very professionally.
Professionally, just for
Yes.
this podcast.
Yes. And I'm like they said, I'm used to working online via Zoom and talking to everybody via Zoom. So it's really, really nice to be here in person recording this. It's also my first time to record a podcast. So, diba, they say you have to do something different or do one thing every day that scares you. And so this is it. I am here and still enjoying.
Every day. Parang hindi ko naman
So glad.
ma-manage
Diba, parang every day. One thing that scares me.
That amount of pressure. And then you also mentioned, architect, that you're also juggling different roles as a person who takes care of your 2 kids and then also kind of managing other side hustles, I believe. You're also doing other things outside of work. So how does it feel to be filling in different roles on a daily basis?
It really depends on what is needed for the day.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a registered architect. I have 2 kids, and Architect Jason and I help each other run the office. I'm also a licensed real estate broker, which I do also on the side. Yan yung mga side hustle.
Ayun yung side hustle.
So I try to sell or rent out some properties, some of our family's properties also. So I help my mom out with that. Aside from that, I'm also yaya and driver because I pick up my daughter, my eldest daughter, from school, and then in the mornings I also put the baby to sleep or I feed the baby. So it's really many hats, and I also am an artist. I like working with my hands and drawing and painting, and I think that's one of my outlets. Still run the office, of course, with the back end that most of you see Architect Jason and the whole team going out to sites and everything. I make sure everything is okay remotely, and I make sure that the office is running well, and the badasses, as we call them, are happy and enjoying themselves in the office, because I believe that the office isn't really just a place of work. It's where we spend a lot of our time. It's where we spend a lot of the moments of our day that we're awake and helping other people and trying to pursue and create positive change. So I also try and make sure that they're okay before they can take care of other people also.
Actually, that's really good to hear. Kasi nga, something that I really like about our culture is that we're always learning. And then there's also this sort of play in our approach when we design or when we interact with each other. It's always something na we're exploring, we're trying something new. As you also mentioned, we're doing something that kind of scares us in a way to kind of try to improve every day, even though bit by bit. And I would like to commend you for being able to foster that type of culture here. So, someone who has been from the very start present in B+A, me and Jean are actually curious. How did it all start? What was the story behind it?
Yeah, wow. Pati love story kasama yata dito eh.
Go.
This is Chika.
Diba?
Yeah. Casual talk.
Yeah, so the firm started in 2006, officially.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually still in school that time. I graduated from UST in 2007.
Oh, okay.
So it really started when I met Jason when I was in third year college. And I was an intern in our professor's firm. And he was assigned to teach me things. Yung mag 3D, mag-draft sa CAD. Kasi dati hindi naman ako marunong ng ganon. I had to really learn and figure things out. And I learned kasi by doing. So if I just watch, that's half of my learning. Pero when I do it, that's when I learn. But cut to, we talked after na, yung on the friend side, after the whole summer intern lang naman. So, masyaga siya kasi naghintay naman siya ng 2 months. Kasi summer lang naman eh, di ba? No, but after that, we just started getting to know each other. And then, he said that one of his dreams was to put up his own office someday. And that was a time where the architects we looked up to were a lot older. And they were working already, and we'd study their work in school, diba? We'd read about them. But then there wasn't much of our generation who was practicing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Parang when you say architect, that time, everybody was already established. You know, they were running their practices. And when you say a name, kilalang kilala na. So one of the things that drove him to get the idea of starting the firm was to be different. Because I remember when we were sharing some stories in school, there were times that I would be told personally na masyadong advanced yung design mo, masyadong modern, hindi yan papalag dito sa Pilipinas. It's like, but I'm a student, diba? And if you're a student, anything goes. Ideally, diba? Kasi that time naman, budget is not a concern. Client's wish is not a concern. It's really how you think of your concept, how you understand the plate. Diba? They called it plates. How you understand it and how you are able to interpret your design and your concept, and how that time wala pang rendering ng 3D masyado. Kung gaano kakagaling mag-manual.
Oh, buti na lang we were kind of blessed na rin to have computer-generated designs now.
Yeah.
But before, it was really much harder.
Parang they were only starting 3D rendering, and that time we were using 3D Max pa. I'm not
3D
sure
Max.
if
Oh.
naabutan niyo pa yung Max, but it was really complicated. And I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna learn this. You know, I just charm my way through. Joke lang. Joke lang. Don't do that at home. Don't do that in school.
It works now.
Oh, okay.
No, up for consideration.
So if you could compare 3ds Max to what we use right now is SketchUp. So
It's a lot easier now. You know, parang when I was starting in an office, I worked kasi in an office before, joining Jason. Hindi ko na natuloy yung story, mamaya na ulit yun. I was working with Joey Yupanco at the time.
Yes.
And after school, I entered with him. And he had pa this separate program. It was called Z-Form. if I remember correctly, it was separate pa from 3D Max and we had to learn it. And I was like, how in the world am I supposed to learn how to draft CAD? parang nasa CAD pa lang ako. Kailangan ko na mag-render. But that was also the time, about a year after, lumabas yung first edition ng SketchUp.
Oh.
Ooh.
So, I was like, okay, this is so much easier kasi push-pull, you know?
Yeah, and then
Paint,
click.
click, diba? So I said, I'm gonna study this. And I'm not gonna use ZForm. Sorry, sir.
I think that's like everyone's baby software SketchUp.
Yeah.
That's the starter pack. I think
Yeah.
second year, third year for us, like we were already learning SketchUp, especially for doing complicated forms.
Yeah.
It's actually much easier now to do it in SketchUp rather than to kind of imagine it in your head and
Yeah.
draw it manually.
Okay, like some students these days, if they can't like draw a very complex form, they just do it in SketchUp and they just chase it.
That's another way to
Oh my
charm
God,
now.
you're not supposed to reveal
Oh,
it.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, but that's actually a
Well,
life hack. I think
that's a life
some
hack.
people in the office also admitted to doing that. Diba? You need to provide different views for it. So it has to be somehow parang it has to somehow make sense, the
Yeah.
3D object that you're making. So we just print it.
Basta what's important is what you are designing and plan must be cohesive on what you are presenting in 3D or like in elevation or something like that.
That's why we have to be accepting of the change.
Yeah.
And thank God there was already SketchUp
Yeah.
by the time we were studying.
Pero syempre, let's not forget our roots, which is basically pen and paper.
When we were in first and second year, we were still required to actually do manual rendering. I think we weren't allowed, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we were not allowed to use any computer-aided drafting at
Yeah,
all.
up until I think third year of our college.
Yeah.
Which is really to emphasize that this is where we started from. And even without those softwares, we still have to know how to actually draw.
I think also the soul and the heart and the soul is still there when there's a connection with the mind and the hand, and then the ideas flow. What I really enjoyed also was in design was conceptualizing, so you can still draw and you can still sketch. My worry lang that when the 3D softwares came about was that whatever initial ideas you have nasa-suppress na kasi 3D agad. Like, parang the initial concern is, how do I do this in SketchUp? Or how do I do this in a 3D program? What I value and what I learned also from my first boss was that you have to bring in your heart and soul into it first before you translate it into the computer. So that was when parang I was like, ay, okay, sige. Mamaya na ako mag-3D. Drawing ko na lang muna. And one of the things that helped me when I was starting also was he trained us how to think in 3D by making models, as in scaled models. When he'd give us a design, it was a physical model. Like ceiling lang, pero model siya. And then we had Monday meetings, and when he'd come to the office, we were four in the office. He'd bring 4 different scaled models of what we had to work on that week. And he's like, okay, this is your model. This is my idea. This is what I think. But interpret it the way you would want. And that was how I learned when he was saying, you have to learn the rules. You have to make your own rules, but you have to follow them. And then when you follow them, you kind of have that logic and you have that parang thinking already, that pattern. And then you can break away from it.
I see.
So that was how I was trained to think and look at the negative space instead of what you really see. So parang instead of looking at the box, a drawing of a square, you look at what's inside. What are the possibilities inside the square? And now looking back and thinking and giving this parang whole reflection type of thing, that's where imagining possibilities came from.
Oh.
Because we were taught to look at the void and imagine all sorts of things that's possible.
Mind blown.
Yon. But seriously, and then parang one of the first lessons I also learned, my first few days, because I was fresh out of college, and then I took siguro about 2 weeks lang to rest.
To rest.
Yeah, and he was like, come work with me already because somebody's leaving. I need somebody to replace him. And it's a very small office. Like, we were only 4. And it was such a small room, like half of this pa. We had our own corners. Ganon siya. Pero masaya because we were 3 girls and 1 boy. So it was all kwentuhan while working. But yeah, so he is saying, imagine a chair if you don't know what a chair looks like. Did it automatically have 4 legs? Di naman. Could have 3 legs. It could have 6 legs. But the purpose of the chair is for you to be able to sit down on. So try to think out of the box and try to think in that void space what a possible chair looks like if you didn't know what a chair really looked like. So that was the starting point of my imagination, the design conceptualization as an architect. And that was a really, really good foundation for me. And I said, okay, kaya ko mag-imagine, kaya ko mag-conceptualize. Now I have to work on the technical side. And that came after. So going back to the story, Jason started the firm in 2006 when he won the CCP competition. That was his first competition that he put up with his friends. And he was in the professional category. We were in the students category.
Oh.
So I had my own group of friends. We joined the same competition. And that was also when we kind of like started working together to see if we were going to work. Kasi professional siya. So I was like, sir, that joke lang. Okay ba to? Like, what did you think?
My
What
mentor.
do you think? Oo. Tapos, okay lang ba if you help me with my boards? My presentation boards,
For
ganyan.
thesis or for
the
the
competition.
competition.
And then after that, he won the competition for the professional category. We also won the competition for the students category.
Queen things.
Queen things talaga.
No big deal.
No wonder she is our badass queen.
But again, everything fell into place lang. We didn't talk for mga almost a year after that. Kasi I did my thesis and then he started putting up the office. So after the competition, he got a lot of newspapers writings, articles, and people started hearing his name. And then people started asking if he could do my room, yung small projects. He was also asked to do yung mga bahay ni tito, bahay ni tita.
Yeah, from families.
From families, yes. And on the other hand, I was doing my thesis. We talked again. I was almost done with my project.
Mm-hmm.
So parang pa-defense na, pa-thesis defense na. So that was the year that he got to maybe working on his goals to set it up. And that was when naman I was finalizing my years in school. After graduation, that was when he said, yeah, you work muna for other people kasi you need to experience the world. Parang you need to experience other things, how it really is in the real world. He was already starting small projects. Apparently, yung rendering then he has somebody to do it. So parang, okay, pareho tayo hanggang concept, diba? We'll just learn how to render and do 3D together. Anyway, cut the long story short, he started B+A officially and I was working pa for another office. Pero he'd ask me parang, oh, okay ba to? Kunyari, kakain kami sa labas and he's like, okay na ba yung logo na to? Like, oh, okay na yan. Sige, okay na yung logo na yan.
So even before, you were already kind of part of B+A from the very beginning.
Yes,
Even
but
though
not
not
officially.
Oh, okay.
Now you see fuchsia pink all around, right? Our first colors were black and green.
From the very
From
start.
the very, very beginning. And the logo was B+A, but the original concept of that was in a paper napkin.
Oh, okay.
Kasi we were having dinner one time and he's like, I'm thinking, ito yung logo, ito yung name. These are my studies. What do you think? I'm like, yeah, okay, but that will work. So we kind of developed it na lang eventually. But I don't know, I should have kept that piece of paper. I never really imagined what it was going to be in the coming years. Because nga at that time, 40 years old pa yung peg. Like, I'm gonna be somebody, I'm going to be a good architect or who's, building things really, working with projects at 40. And that time he was 25, 26.
Yeah, it was something way, way in the future pa. So this is just the very first steps.
Yes. Oo. So we were doing some projects. He was doing some projects. I'd help on the side, and then eventually he said, wait, this is kind of getting serious na because I have a couple of projects. So first sabi niya, I'll borrow my mom's office. So you're like, okay, sige, let's set up a small space there. So we had one corner, and then our laptops pa, mine was fresh out of college, diba? So parang, ito lang yung meron ako, but we can make it work.
Mm-hmm.
And then he started joining more competitions, and I think that was when he would get surprised when they declare him the winner. Parang, oh, it's me. But that time we were also enjoying doing competitions nga because it was something that was not really budgeted initially, diba? Because when you say competition, you just bring out the ideas there and you're able to just share and let out the creativity. And then, tsaka na yung budget. Pag nanalo ka na, tsaka mo na iisipin yan, di ba?
Iba talaga pag wala mo ng budget. You don't have to think of the practical side of architecture muna.
Yes.
Pero dahil doon, parang it would make us very more creative, I guess.
Yeah, para kasing, yun nga, we're imagining
Possibilities,
possibilities. So it
yeah.
all kind of comes in full circle talaga.
Since we're already talking about the office philosophy of imagining possibilities, since you and architect Jason established it, how did you come to build on it? Like, were there any struggles along the way building the brand of the office or the office itself to what it is right now?
Well, that time when looking back again, he would just accept any project available. I remember we did a two-door. Alam niyo pa ba yung two-door?
Yes,
Yes.
we learned about
I
it
remember.
in school.
I know. It was like, his joke pa was one door, two door, three. Ha, corny mo. But
Kaya pala naka-embed sa memory mo.
but yeah, we did that. We did a two-door master plan. It was just a master plan, so we didn't really have to design the buildings. But parang that was the concept of the whole development, so we did that. And then we also did projects that were following whatever like the family member wanted. Kasi, diba, a tita would say, I want this, I want that. And then we sat down and said, what do we really want? Do we just really want to follow things? Or do we want to be different? Given that we knew that we had opportunities to start new things. Given nga that the architects that were famous or were successful that time had solid practices already. And we were saying we want to be different. And even if, sabi niya, yeah, even if I'm doing a toilet details, I still want that experience inside the toilet to be different. There was a frustration one time na, how can I make this toilet different? And I think those were the subconscious things that we brought into the office. Now, how is it going to be different? How is it going to be an experience instead of just something that's designed? And ako personally, I am somebody who enjoys color. And I love colors, and I used to be an art teacher also. Something that I used to do in my past life. Di ba past life? But
Soon, again.
ages ago, right?
Yeah.
That was when I realized that I loved color and being artsy and crafty and bringing... Parang color really made me happy. And that was one thing that I introduced in my thesis pa lang. When we were thinking of how we were going to be different, we were saying, should we say no to the projects that we weren't going to be happy doing? Kasi you spend a lot of time working on a particular project, and if you're half-baked with it and there's no heart, ayan, andyan na naman yung heart and mind coordination with the hand and all. If there's no heart and soul in it, it's not gonna make you fulfilled, or it's not gonna make you happy just building it. Yes, you are able to finish a house, but what does the house do after you're done? Does it bring joy? Does it bring positive change? Does it bring optimism? And I remember thinking one time when we did a house, sabi nung client, wow, architect, I'm really, really, really grateful that you helped me with this house and I'm able to build a future with my family. And she had young kids at that time and she said, I know these kids are going to grow up in a very different environment from what I was used to, because parang you helped us envision something that we wasn't in our imagination. Parang you put it and you made it come true. So we said, okay, positive change. And it was such a good feeling because you're saying, ang galing, that is one family. Imagine if you multiply that a lot of times and you throw it out to the community, or to throw out one family will influence another family and the children will grow up and they'll have a different mindset, and the impact would be generational, and the impact would be improving and improving and improving the next generation, and then improving the community. So it's like a ripple effect. And you're saying, our office could be a catalyst of positive change. Like that rock. If you throw a rock in the water, our office could be that rock to create the ripples. And you're saying, okay, so maybe we should just really direct ourselves towards contemporary, modern, different, new, experiential. And so that time also we were talking about struggles was we had to say no to some of the projects after, kasi we didn't find soul in it anymore. That was also the time already that I passed the board exam already. So mga 2 years after I passed the board exam, and then my parents needed me to do some of their houses for rental nga. So I said, okay, maybe it's time for me to go on my own. And then he's like, Toink, ano ka ba? Let's parang if you want, we can work together na officially. So and then he proposed na for marriage. I was like, okay, maybe pwede naman. Pwede naman siguro.
I'll consider it.
Yeah. So I officially joined January 2011.
So that was
Officially.
5 years after.
Yes, 5 years after. So I learned outside. I helped my family. So finally, we said, okay, 2011. Because 2011 was also the year we were going to get married. So I joined in January. We got married in November. 11-11-11.
Oh!
Pati yun may concept.
May concept
Cute.
din
That was
pala.
cute. That's cute though.
Yeah, it was 11-11-11. So yeah, when we got married, we said, hey, maybe it's time to rebrand also the office, because that time it was black and green. Yung joke niya, it was black because architects like to wear black and green because I'm green-minded. Yun lang yung...
Ikaw specifically?
Siya.
Okay.
Si Jason. Yun lang yung reason niya. Kaya black and green. So he's like, no, just kidding. If you notice, like all my competition boards, subconsciously, they were all green. Like when we present his competition boards, green yung background or the general color, general
That
feel.
was his trademark in a way.
Yeah, subconsciously. Parang ganon. So, and I was like, oh yeah, my favorite color is green. So why not? 2011, we met with a branding firm, finally. And we were like, this is just us. Maybe we can elevate it or do something about it naman to signify joining together, joining the office together. And then the guy we met, he was like, what do you think of fuchsia? Like, hirap naman i-spell. Sabi ko, paano mo i-spell? Pwede pink na lang.
Pink.
Ganyan. I was like, yeah, I'm very happy with that color because nobody was using fuchsia at that time, and a corporate firm would have red, black,
blue,
white,
Gray.
Yes,
Yeah.
diba?
Gray.
So I think when you look at the color, you'll know that this firm is different and it's striking, and we wanted to be noticed, of course, diba? Like, sino ba tong mga bagitong to? Who are these kids? So we stuck with that, and then we were thinking, let's think of something. So dun lumabas yung random responses. The tagline of random responses, because we were saying that everything nga was a response to what the client needed. and you had to listen to what they needed and what they wanted.
Not just what they verbally said, right? The in-between,
Yes.
the implied,
Yes.
their works, their lifestyle that they might not even notice. You also
Yes.
have to take that into consideration.
Correct. Like, so when we'd interview, my questions were, do you like to cook? How many kids? What do the kids enjoy? What are their favorite colors? What is a typical day in your life? So we really had to get to know the client. And eventually, they became friends because nga of that approach na there's soul. There's really soul and heart. And because of that, we enjoyed what we were doing, getting to know them, getting to build relationships, and then giving them what they needed. Translating that character into physical form. And I think it's an art in itself also because you have to know that at the end of the day, yes, we are architects. Yes, we build things. Yes, we design for them. But at the end of the day, they will be the ones who will use the space. We have to make sure that the space suits them, not us. Not because parang, ay, gusto ko to, so ito yung gagawin ko. Gusto ko tong curve. Gusto ko tong color. So this is what I will introduce. It's really, this is my suggestion. This is what I think, in my professional opinion, would suit your family. Is it something that we can work together with? And then, dyan pumapasok yung budget, availability of materials, how feasible it is. So it comes into play. But the hard things get easier because you're already enjoying what you're doing and you're enjoying working with the people you're building it for. And that's what probably set us apart from just maybe a Tudor or a Greek, design, Mediterranean. We said, okay, random responses. And we had enough material to write a book. 2014, we launched a book. And that was the first time we saw the projects in catalog. We're doing something right naman siguro, di ba?
The fact that you were able to compile a full collection
because of course,
works.
you'll doubt yourself, like, tama ba to? Tama ba tong ginagawa na? Bakit ko ba ginagawa to? Hirap. And why do I have to think of, some weird, different form when it's so easy to just do a box? Why are we doing it a step forward? Why are we doing it differently? Why are we doing it correctly? Another challenge was finding the right engineering teams. Kasi at that time, parang bata pa kami, you're young pa, sabihin nila, ano bang alam ng mga batang to? But then you're saying, we like working with young people because we can push the boundaries, we can say, sige, gawa natin ng paraan. And hindi yung pwede na to. So that was also another thing that we wanted to infuse in the office, that culture that, let's find a way. No matter how difficult it is, that's why we're architects. We solve problems, diba? But let's find a way to do it. And then if need be, let's figure out a compromise that we're both happy with. Diba? But so that time, we were saying, how do you say, push my idea, push it to the limit, like, 10 steps ahead, curved, skewed, everything. But how does it get built naman?
Yeah, so you really have to find a balance between innovating, creating something new, and creating something relevant, but also creating something practical and something na actually magagamit talaga ng users. So, what is it like crossing those bridges? Kasi, syempre, especially when you're young budding architects just starting out, they can't rely on just the name. How do you kind of build that image or build that trust with someone without making it seem like, nakaka-intimidate since you know this profession pero for clients, they don't really know much about design. How do you bridge the different knowledge libraries ng the two of you have?
Well, syempre, you have to consider and think. There's critical thinking involved. And then, of course, there's grit and the passion. That's very important, I think. When you have that desire to really spark positive change, yun talaga yun. It's not just designing something. It's not just really building and seeing it, tapos na, okay, I'm fulfilled. No, it's more of how can this building improve the lives of other people. And because of that, it gets the meaning and the purpose of this office becomes even deeper. It's not just to produce work. It's not just to come up with something different or something modern or something Filipino. It's really changing the Philippines or improving the Filipino hearts one person at a time. I think that's the deepest motive of really the office.
Yeah, I think even now that's
Yeah.
still kind of felt. Even for us, ni Jean, we're kind of relatively new people here. We still feel that there's a soul or there's a purpose to everything we do. And I really commend the B+A for kind of evolving pero still keeping that core philosophy in mind. Is that why pink then? That's another question. Pink is a heart. Pink kasi passionate, love. Does it mean anything besides being unique to what we usually see?
I think when you see pink kasi it's soft, but it's also masculine at the same time. And diba, there was this saying that tough guys wear pink.
It does. Right? What do you think of that?
Pwede na rin. Yeah, I guess.
Parang right now, it's not taboo to wear pink for guys.
Yeah.
When you say pink, oh, it's so girly, you know, it's so dainty, it's so Elle Woods. And the first contact is usually what makes the biggest impact, right? So we were saying, okay, let's do fuchsia. And people will start saying, why? Why fuchsia? Why pink? So when you say why pink, it's not pink, it's fuchsia. But it was also fun. It was not intimidating. It was not corporate because we didn't envision the office for everybody to be like horses on blinders, that everybody was just doing, CADing away or working in the computer. We wanted it to be a homey atmosphere. We wanted it to be welcoming. We wanted it to be vibrant. And we wanted to attract creative people who would eventually share the same values as we did. And when you see pink, it's very striking, the way that you see red when you're hungry or when you're angry. But in this case, pink was a subtler version of that. It was a warmer, softer version of that. But it was also very bold because for Jason, it was like tough guys wear pink. I'm not going to be afraid of being different. I'm not going to be afraid of having this mindset that I'm not probably a typical stereotype. And that was the tone we wanted to set for the office at the very beginning. And I'm really happy that until now, it's still evident in our culture subtly. And so coming into the office, I introduced color also. Because I remember this conversation with Jason. What do you think of this design? Sabi ko, you can add a little bit more color. And then sabi niya, yeah, like what? Sabi ko, blue, green. I was just saying colors out of it. She's like, no way I'm gonna do that. No way. And then I was like, okay, well, we can try. You can try your own. I can try my own. And then we'll see. And then eventually she's like, pwede naman, diba? It's possible. So I think something that I really brought into the office was the color. And the boldness to introduce color in what we do and comparing it to, again, the soul of the Filipino.
Yeah.
And how happy Filipinos are, diba? Yung bumabaha na, hi, pa rin sila sa camera.
Ngiti-ngiti, swimming.
Oo, diba? Or bumabaha na may inuman pa sa kalsada. Taking that Filipino soul into the office, that's why it is what it is also now with the colors and with the vibrancy and with the shapes and the patterns. That's what the beginnings were. And I'm so happy that until now, it's still what we carry forward.
Yeah, not just visual color, right? Not just in our logo, in our design for the office. It's also color in our culture or how we think or how we have an attitude towards things. I noticed that everyone here seems, not to do some sort of promotion, but everyone seems like they're happy.
Yes.
That's big.
In the very general...
Coming from you. It's nice to hear.
Personally, I'm very happy. It feels like I'm just here with my friends, hanging out, and then we're just doing our thing every day. And I really appreciate that type of environment.
Actually, doing this podcast is already like a happy thing to do.
Yeah, this is just chill.
Yeah, just chill.
So
We're just talking.
I'm really grateful for you introducing the concept to the office, because again, it's bringing new things, and culture is something that is also very big in our small office. When we were doing interviews, I often catch myself saying it's very easy for us to learn CAD. We learn it in school. It's very easy for us to learn 3D. Take me for example, diba? Because you want to do it and because it's really part of the job, right? But what we cannot teach is the culture of the office, and we look for people who are very passionate, who are very like-minded, who share that love for design and love for life and love for what they do. Because you cannot teach that. We cannot teach you, oh, be passionate naman, diba? It comes innately. Again, it comes from the heart and it comes from the soul. So yun talaga yung
Main factor.
like the sun of the office, the heart and the soul. Of course, there's also the faith concept. Like, you don't really know what's going to happen 5-10 years from now, diba? Like, there are times we'd say, I hope, in the next few years we're still relevant. That's another struggle. Honestly, I hope that in the next few years, with a lot of architects coming up, we're still people that we can share our happiness and our joy and our optimism with. And that's where faith comes in naman, because no matter how much you have or what ideas you have, if you don't have faith and if you don't cling on to something or something that really inspires you and you get your source of inspiration from, it's not gonna work also. And of course, we have fun, diba? Hindi naman everything is all work. There's Free Friday, there's technical innovations, and I'm so grateful nga that the pandemic, we've nakaraos tayo, diba? That we are building again what we have, and I never really imagined 2 years ago that we'd move into a new office. See, it's really God being faithful, because we're faithful with the small things and He'll bless you with the bigger things. And if you keep doing that, if you keep pursuing what you believe in, if there's a lot of grit and there's a lot of passion, God will see that and He will reward it. He'll reward the work of your hands.
I agree. I think in some way, all of us also either already have that same mindset or similar mindset, or eventually we kind of adapted it since we are surrounded by like-minded people. You mentioned, I think it was also mentioned by someone here, that we're not only curating the spaces we're designing, we're kind of meticulously planning everything. We're also curating the culture. And I think that's an interesting term, because we're not just curating the physical objects, but we're also curating the people. And as you've mentioned before, the people here, they ideally, in your vision of it, are people who are passionate, who have grit, who kind of just generally want to serve the people in some way. So are those traits that you already sense from doing initial interviews with them, or is this something na you feel like it's cultivated from being in an environment like this? Where does it start, or is it like where's the starting point for building a culture like that?
I think one thing that I know I have is intuition. And when I see or meet a person, I can more or less see if, because I know na what is to be matched, diba? So I kind of know from gut feel maybe, or from doing interviews throughout the years. Segue, paano tayo mag-segment ng what to say and what not to say and what to do in an interview? That can be for another
Stay tuned.
Yes.
Stay tuned
episode.
for another episode.
But really, I think I can read people. And when I talk to them, I don't know if you noticed, but when we were doing our interviews, it was more of conversational.
Mhm.
I mean, sure, there were like, what can you do? Are you capable? Are you an architect? We graduated naman from architecture school, so that has to be a given already, diba? But when we did the interviews, especially for the past 2 years, kasi it was a little bit more challenging for me, even if I say I knew how to read because it was all online.
Mhm.
I kind of had to shift and figure things out also. Of course, there were things along the way also that happened, but it's really reading the people and having a conversation with the people, because one thing I also believe in is relationship.
Mhm.
We can be office mates and not mind each other, but what of it will happen? Like, will we have the same camaraderie, or will we have the same mindset, or will we have the same, radar wavelength involved? So I'm really, really honestly picky with people who join the office.
Yes.
Ay.
Season 1.
So with
bakit
that-
si Jean?
bakit ako? Bakit lang me?
Well, I remember with two of you, we had our internship pa, diba?
Oh, yeah.
Even before coming into the office. And I was so happy to have you guys back. When I saw your names na, graduate na ako. Diba? Parang finish na yung thesis. And I remember meeting you both pa-thesis pa lang. So you're like, paano ba mag-thesis? Ano bang kailangan? Even with me before, I felt like, thesis? It's like such a high wall you have to scale.
Mhm.
And looking back, I was like, grabe no, 1 year pala yung thesis and one project. And now what we're doing, one thesis project a month, or even 2 to 3 weeks, diba, for
Yeah.
concept.
Mhm.
So it's really reading people and observing also if they're the match for the office, and then asking what you think. I remember in our interviews, I'd ask what you thought of this, what you thought of that, and certain values. Those questions and I prefer kasi a very relational type of interview, yung kwentuhan, because I learn more from that.
Mhm.
I learn more by asking questions, getting to know you personally from the heart. That's why, I guess, parang, okay, ikaw na yung mag-interview and then sift. But yeah, I'm very, very, of course, hindi naman siya 100% batting average. There are times na there's a best foot forward. But we learn throughout the years. We adjust. Diba? Ganun naman also our culture in the office. We test, we experiment, we try. If it doesn't work, well, how can we improve? And that's something I also like about the office. It's not just one person's idea. It's not Sir Jason or Architect Jason's idea. It's everybody's idea. It's such a collective. We really want it to be more as a collective of ideas, to own the work that you do also. So gauging people, learning about them, building relationships is also something that's more important. Actually, I'm taking care of the 2 girls, no, pero I still want to enjoy coming into the office and taking care of everybody. Being here every day is something I really miss.
Mhm.
And nafa-FOMO ako minsan.
When you see on our chats that we have a
and
celebration.
I'm very grateful now that people here in the office also help me with like the free Fridays. I used to handle everything, diba? But because I had to take care of kids also, again, many, many hats for a woman architect, and I think we can talk about that after, no? You really need help when help is needed. You have to ask for help. I guess nandyan din yung humility and farming out, delegation. So many things really to think about and to talk about when you're running a firm. But I'm blessed with people who have stepped up and helped me help other people run the office for free Fridays, and this thing. And I'm also grateful that we have this podcast now, because it's an idea that was brought in by the newer guys, and I'm happy because we're evolving also in a way, but we're still keeping that same mind and heart and body and soul of the office. But of course, we all have to change and adapt to the times.
Since we're already like dabbling on about how the office changes, siguro we could also talk about like what do you think about the evolution of the office from when you started and what to is right now, like the office culture, the productivity, the creative freedom from before and now?
The office has really evolved. I mean, talking about the same soul, heart, mind, body is still there, but we've grown. Kung baga, hindi na siya baby, teenager na siya.
Nurtured na.
Oo, it's in a more sophisticated time. It's we make designs that are more experienced, more subtle, more sophisticated. Because honestly, before, if you saw our initial designs, and if you have the book, you can use this as evidence, no? There's so much sharp curves. You know, parang nagpapapansin. The designs were sharp curves, sharp angles, bold colors. Yeah, but now if you see the office, the designs that we produce are still out of the box thinking, but they're more refined and more sophisticated. And maybe the thinking is even deeper. I imagine when we were building our own personal house, we've been staying in the same house since we got married. There are a lot of things that I realize now na parang we could have done better. And that's our own house, ha? Parang, yeah, you know what? We could have probably thought of this different. Or if I thought about this now, if I would design this now, it would be something else. So we've really evolved and we've really learned from mistakes also. I do believe that the office has had its fair share of mistakes we had to correct, mistakes that we had to live with, and mistakes that we could have we learned from. So that's where the evolution is. And one thing I learned is that you shouldn't be afraid pala to make mistakes. Kasi in school ako parang X, you know, ang dami mong red. Ang dami mong red sa papel. Bagsak ka, fail, you know. And failure was like, you're punished, you're grounded. So you're afraid to fail and make a mistake, diba? But now, I believe that mistakes are like weightlifting. Like you have to lift weights to build muscle and to build that muscle memory to correct the mistake. And it's learning. Like if you don't make a mistake, you don't learn. And parang, again, lingo of a mom, because an architect wears many hats, a woman architect wears many hats. The toddler who's learning to walk will still fall down. And will still get hurt. Will still get, you know, bukol, puputok yung labi, may dugo somewhere. Even if it's painful to see and to see your child cry, you learn. And they learn na parang, okay, to her, I shouldn't pala touch the socket. Kasi if I touch the socket, ako rin pala yung masasaktan. So those are the kinds of mistakes that we've evolved in the office and we've learned. And it also built our stamina and our grit. And it helped us be better and say, hey, this didn't work. Maybe we can do this. Hey, this one still needs improvement. Maybe we can try this out. Try it again and then go back to the drawing board if it doesn't work out. So it is applicable in the office, what we do in our systems, but it's also applicable in architecture and design.
Since you mentioned na being a female architect or woman architect and also at the same time being a mother then to your kids, so maybe we could like talk about you being the girl boss in the industry.
No, it's kind of hard to place. But first of all, yeah, so my kids are 7 and 20 months. So parang 1 year and hindi ko na alam. Basta, magto 2 years old na siya. Like I mentioned, I really like to watch them and learn a lot from them. And sometimes they also, well, a lot of the times they inspire me for all the ideas, the creativity. Sometimes the classes that they take, I sit in and I say, oh, I can bring this to the office in a different level. And the progressive learning. Kasi my daughter is in a progressive school. So I watch how they're being taught. So I know how to bring it here and somehow teach also. Something that I enjoy doing is actually teaching. And I said, if the details or the technical side can be delegated to other people who are better than me, and I acknowledge that there are a lot of people who are better than me, I'll give it to them because we are a team and teammates help each other bring out the best, right? Again, I've been repeating this because it's probably in my heart that as a woman architect, there are really many hats that you have to wear. I'm also a mom, a wife, somebody who needs to work, who loves to work, who loves what I'm doing, and I'm grateful for that. I'm a teacher innately because if you're a mom, then you're automatically a teacher because you're raising the next generation also, and that's something I hope to bring into the office. So parang I consider everybody here also my kids. You know, like nung pandemic, parang my gosh, paano ko aalagaan lahat
Ng mga anak ko.
ng mga anak ko?
No, a little
And-
far away.
Yeah, parang I really missed everybody and I was on the verge of tears na parang, oh my God, we're gonna get back together. You know, somehow it's gonna happen. One thing during the pandemic was how to get everybody here safely. How to get everybody working together because I saw how difficult it was to just work online. And with the culture that we have and the profession that we have, collaboration is key. Collaboration and being together. Parang you feed off each other's
Vibe.
yes, diba? And brainstorming and collaborating is really important. Again, it's not a one-person job. It's not a one-man job, this whole architecture thing. For me, it's really the heart for the people, for the people here in this office that I really want to take care of. And that's where the mothering comes in. Every person I meet here in this office, I treat as, you know, as much as possible. My kids, my babies, diba? Parang if somebody leaves, nalulungkot ako kasi I've established a relationship with them and they're always going to be a part of B+A, and what the office is now is because of their contributions also. The second is how to run the office as a mom, as a woman, while raising young kids. It's not very easy. It's a joy and also a challenge to do that. But we make it work because the team allows for me to do that. And that's why I'm grateful. The last thing I want is to just, you know, not be seen or not be heard or not be reached, especially during work hours. So you know that, you know, I'm always there. When you message me, I tried my best to answer because I want to show that I'm also here for everybody, despite being taking care of the kids. And one thing that is beneficial is, hey, you know, I need help. Asking for help is also not taboo. I'll still be there. I mean, I won't leave you naman in the air or what, diba? Pero it's good also to empower. Yon, it's nice to empower other people because I don't also want it to come from me all the time. That's why it's nice to have good ideas. It's nice to have refreshing thoughts. It's nice to be challenged. And that's something that is also good in the office is that we challenge each other. We just don't take no for an answer. As a woman architect, it's also challenging. You know, one thing that I really didn't like when I was starting or when we were doing it was, ay ma'am, baka mahulog kayo, ay akit ako ng scaffolding. Ingat po kayo kasi baka, you know, parang it's like, kaya ko din. I can be brave if I want to be brave. But I'm also scared of heights.
Pero ayaw mo kasi yung stereotype na, just because you're a girl, may kailangan ingatan sa site, which is really hard. No?
Oo. Or, like, bata ka pa, hindi mo kaya yan. So parang, I think I can try my best and I'll learn from it. And that's something that the office has proved also, na we learn from our mistakes, we practice, and then we improve, and then eventually we'll get it also. Again, with kids, you allow them to make the mistakes, they'll eventually get it. You just have to be patient. There aren't many women architects in the profession also. I'm happy nga that there are a lot of ladies in the profession who step out and who are enjoying also and who are proving that we can also do it despite raising the kids and despite having to take care of the home also and having to take care of many, many things.
Grabe, I really can't imagine myself or like going into someone's shoes like that.
Wearing many different hats all at the
Yeah.
same time while still managing to do all of the responsibilities required for
Yeah.
each.
I'm really, really cannot stress the importance of my gratefulness talaga that we have this team who works together to get all of these things done. Because I admit I can't do it on my own.
Pero still, you still manage to somehow fill all those responsibilities nga with the help of other people. So I think that's really refreshing kasi most people say, oh, I have it all, or parang, oh, I can, we want to be someone who has it all or who can do it all. Pero ayun nga, maybe what's not brought about in the topic as much is the person who can do it all is with a team that helps them or that enables them to do it all.
Yes. And, diba, parang two heads are better than one.
Or 5.
5, or 10. I mean, this office is such a collective already that the work that we put out is something that not just one person can do. That's the grit that I see the office having. And with the leadership of Architect Jason, I think it's something that we will back him up with talaga.
So it's good seeing all of these things come into a full circle, like where the office or how the office started, the culture that you implemented in the office, like the culture of learning, how you manage being a woman architect, juggling different hats in the industry, not only in architecture, but in different aspects then of the profession.
Also, the fact na you're also inputting your experience as a mother, I think that's very important. Kasi nga, even before, you also mentioned you started by using physical objects to conceptualize with your previous work experience. So, it kind of reminded me of building using Lego blocks as a kid. So, there's really a childlike approach to design and just living life in general that I really appreciate, which I think is evident up until now in how we work.
True. So again, thank you, Architect Nikki, for joining us today. We really had a great
We
time
did.
babbling with you.
Thanks for having me. I had fun also.
And yeah, sure, same goes for our listeners out there. So thank you again for tuning in to our first episode.
Do you have anything to promote that you would like to share with our audience?
I guess to close, I'd like to say that inspiration is really out there. When you mentioned nga Lego and blocks, sometimes I enjoy playing with it more than the kids, and I find myself, building things. So inspiration is always out there. Do not be afraid to look for it, even in the smallest, most mundane things, because that's where you'll find it. Since we're here, I would like to promote our Babble Station episode, since this is our
This is
first.
it.
This is our first, that I hope there will be many, many more. And if you found this really interesting, I hope to be back someday.
Of course,
Yeah.
of course.
And if you enjoy this conversation, I hope that you can stay tuned to the other speakers or the other episodes we'll have. I hope to build a culture out of this also, so we can still create our culture of learning, take it another step further. So I really hope that you could support us and listen and tell us what you think also. Your thoughts are welcome so that we can also have a conversation with everybody here in B+A. So hope you join us for the next coming episodes of Babble Station.
Yeah, that's right. So tune in every other Wednesday at Babble Station on Spotify and Apple Music, Babble Station on YouTube for our video format. And then you can also follow us on our social media, which is Babble with Us on Instagram, as well as Babble on Facebook.
So thank you again, Architect Nikki, for
Thank you for
being
having
with us
me.
today. This has been Jean,
Lomi,
and thanks for babbling with us.
see you again.
See you again.
Bye.
Bye.